What is going on, guys? It's your boy Samuel Njoku, Ravens Talk Podcast. Draft is coming up. It's coming up fast, and I had a lot of time to do some digging. We talked about it on Twitter. My draft board is pretty much looking pretty swell. What's up, Gibby? Thank you so much for joining. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks. I've been deciphering the draft, and most importantly, and especially if you're a Ravens fan, I need you guys to pay attention to this. The Ravens are in a completely different spot than I'd say 95% of the league. I think that the Ravens are, and I mentioned this on Kevin's show, Locked On Ravens, cheap plug. I mentioned this on Kevin's show. The Ravens are sitting pretty. They have themselves an opportunity with 11 draft picks and a roster that's already formidable to chase a championship. They have a chance to make some waves and do some damage with their selections. I think that overall, the positions that Ravens fans are trying to get in contact with, trying to get on their rosters, it makes sense. You know, edge rusher being one, interior offensive line. We've talked about that all, since the beginning of last season, if we really want to talk about it. So interior offensive line, edge rusher, receiver, maybe, depending on how the draft board falls for the Ravens come Thursday. Interior defensive line, Michael Pierce retired. Travis Jones and Madubuike have done great work, but you'd like to, solidify that third spot. We don't know if Travis Jones is going to come back in 2026. He's due for a contract extension. I would love to have Travis Jones back. I think he's one of the more underrated defensive tackles. But if the Ravens were to get another interior lineman, it would really force opposing offenses to steer away from the double and triple teams. If you watch film of the Ravens last year, Madubuike, you think he'd have a down year. He's being double teamed and triple teamed a lot. So the Ravens are doing their best to really rotate these pass rushers to help out Madubuike to get rid of those 2-3 man sometimes blocking schemes that are targeted towards Madubuike. Let's make sure we have people here. I know Instagram. Again, I'm sorry, guys, if you're on Instagram, I can't really post your comments because StreamYard doesn't really do it like that. But I see Farris saying what's up. I see Branson, yo. Ravens flock is in here doing their damn thing, so I appreciate y'all. Farris Jackson, what round one pick do we have again? We have the 27th pick in the upcoming draft. Yep, Madubuike has been a beast, but we need more D-line, especially after Pierce retirement, says Ferris. Yes, I agree completely. Yep. So the Ravens have some work to do. They have some interesting decisions to make. Right now, the draft board is a little unstable because, again, this isn't really a top-heavy draft. If you watched national media talk about the draft, it's not really a top-heavy, diamond in the rough, for sure, all-pro. In fact, the number one overall pick that many consider to be going number one overall to the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, I wouldn't even consider him to be, on my draft board. I think I have him in the 20s. That's not to say he's not a good quarterback, but for him to be considered the number one overall best player is just not true. And because of that, you'll have players fall. You'll have players fall to these mid to late tier teams. I know the Ravens are very accustomed to drafting late because of their success, postseason success. I know Ravens fans don't think they have much postseason success, but they're making it to the second and third rounds of these playoffs. So they're picking late, but there's still some overall talent to be had. Let's go ahead and look at my draft board. I won't post it. I'm going to wait because if you can see from the ticker down below, I will be having a live draft stream on Thursday. And again, I'll be working with Cam McCusick over at his podcast. We'll be doing a live stream that Saturday talking day 3 picks. A lot of the Ravens value, and the value in this draft overall is in day 3 with these picks. So the Ravens have a chance to really bolster their team. There's some starters to be had in day 3, and not just like round 4. We're talking round 5, maybe early round 6. So the Ravens, depending on the way the draft board goes, don't be surprised if the Ravens are making moves in order to bolster their defense, especially because there are some great defenders here in the middle of this draft for Ravens, especially to go after. I want to talk about a couple of things. Kevin already posted a video on the tight end room that the Ravens have. A lot of talk about where Mark Andrews is going to go. I still firmly believe I'd be surprised if Mark Andrews is a Raven come 2025. Again, there's a chance. The Ravens did get his roster bonus. If that $4 million bonus, that's done. Mark Andrews has that. But again, you have 3 tight ends, no contracts. The Ravens don't have any tight ends under contract in 2026. A lot of that is because you have Mark Andrews and you have Isaiah Likely. You can't just go after Mark Andrews and say, okay, let's extend you, Mark Andrews, and forget about Isaiah Likely. You can't try and extend Isaiah Likely when Mark Andrews is still in the building. Logistically, optics-wise, it just doesn't work. So the Ravens are in a bit of a situation where we don't really know what's going on. And that's pretty much on par with what Eric DeCosta talked about during his press conference. Yeah, the Ravens consider Mark Andrews a Warrior. Right now, he is a Raven. They do respect him. I know that for sure. It's just that this is less to do with the situation that happened in Buffalo in the divisional round and just more to do with roster makeup and how they're going to decide to move forward. Isaiah Likely has proven himself to at least have an opportunity to be that tight end one going into this season. It'll be very difficult game planning wise to continue this trend of having Isaiah Likely be the number 2 tight end just because of the amount of success that Isaiah Likely has had at least the last 2 seasons. I'm going to go back to Instagram and take a look. Bumpy Johnson says, if we were to trade Mark Andrews, what would you think? I think that I'd be okay with it. Ferris says that Cam Ward is definitely underwhelming. He is. I mean, he has some game. There is some game to him, but he's not Caleb Williams. He's not what Trevor Lawrence was coming out of college. Even I wouldn't put him in the realm of Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson because of his playmaking ability. Cam Ward does have a skill set that's desirable. I mean, he is very attuned to the pocket. His pocket presence is amazing, in my opinion. We saw that in Miami. So it's not like he's not a great quarterback. It's just the number 1 overall pick. If you're a franchise and you fall or you fail to hit on that number 1 overall pick, it'll be tough. And you see the ramifications of that with the Jaguars right now, with Trevor Lawrence, who has yet to really take that next step. You just like to see a guy like Abdul Carter, who we know, generational talent, Travis Hunter, who we know is a generational talent. So you expect the number 1 overall pick to go to them. But again, Titans need a quarterback. You see what happens when the teams don't have quarterbacks. You see it with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who pretty much have everything going for them except for that QB role. So I get the predicament the Titans are in, but man, I know they'd wish that they had a chance to move back in the draft, but everybody knows the Titans are going with Cam Ward, and there's not going to be much to do otherwise but pick him up. So let's look at the tight end room because I want to take a look. I'm going off the assumption that Mark Andrews is not a Raven. Even if he is a Raven, I still think there's value to be had with going after a tight end in the upcoming draft. Right now, I have Tyler Warren as my number 1 tight end out of Penn State. No surprise there. He looks to be a very good tight end. He's in the top 10 in my big board right now. Colston Loveland, we saw him in Michigan. Shout outs to Jim Harbaugh's old crew. He's the number 2 tight end. No surprises there. But after that, there's a bit of a drop off. So I think those are our only round 1 tight ends that teams can go after right now. And I think after that, there's a case to be made that maybe a team looking for a tight end, not able to acquire a Loveland or acquire a Warren, maybe looking at Mark Andrews for potential trade. And I think that's what the Ravens are looking at as well. So after that, I like Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green. He has some Isaiah Likely similarities. I think he led the league in receiving yards to tight ends last year. I like him. Mason Taylor out of LSU, another tight end that I really like. Elijah Arroyo, Cam Ward's tight end. I like him as well. So, but all of those guys are really round 2, beginning of round 3, maybe even mid-round 3 guys that I consider for the draft. So again, if you're a team looking for a tight end, you don't get Loveland, you don't get Warren, then I think there's a chance that the Ravens' phone could be ringing and Mark Andrews could be a guy that's dealt. He's one of those players, and don't let anyone fool you. Mark Andrews is available for trade. The Ravens aren't stupid, though. They consider him to be a top 5, type 10 tight end. You're not going to give up that caliber of a tight end for a 6th-round draft pick, and especially since they've already taken that roster bonus of $4 million, they especially aren't interested in any late day 3 picks. They're going to want a day 2 pick, maybe late or early round 4 pick, no more than that. Again, this is all speculation. I've heard some things, but for the most part, I'd be surprised if the Ravens let Andrews go for anything under or around 4 pick, just considering their the phone calls I'm sure that they receive from other teams acquiring about his services. So that's my tight end right now. I think, again, there's some value to be had tight end wise in the middle of this draft. I think, again, it's no sure thing that Isaiah Likely re-signs with the Ravens. I want to make that clear. I know the Ravens are going to do their best, but Charlie Kolar as well, he may find somebody that's willing to give him an offer. I think Charlie Kolar and another team could be a starting tight end. But because the Ravens are so good at drafting tight ends, Charlie Kolar finds himself in the bottom of that depth chart. Come 2026, you may not have that luxury of having 3 dynamic tight ends. So Ravens may need to start looking now at those tight ends. We know the Ravens love tight ends. They love drafting them. They're very good at acquiring these tight ends and finding them up. So shout out to their scouting team for what they do. But yeah, I think that tight end is a position that, obviously not the sexy first round draft pick that a lot of Ravens fans are looking at, but that's a position that I could see the Ravens targeting, especially because they have 11 draft picks. Let's see what we have here. Ashton Jeanty says, Esquire to Valid. Ashton Jeanty is building up steam. I was big on Ashton Jeanty. A lot of Ravens fans were mad at me saying, oh, well, we got Derrick Henry if he falls. I said if he falls to the beginning of the 20s, talking about Pittsburgh Steelers, around that, and, 19th pick, if Ashton Jeanty falls there, I think he's number 4 on my big board. The number 4 overall, teetering on generational talent. A lot of people try and compare him to LaDainian Tomlinson. The Ravens have 1 year. 1 year left on Derrick Henry's deal. I mean, you see a guy like Ashton Jeanty fall that far. Again, no way he falls now. As the draft approaches, you see these teams are really honing in on him, and I don't blame him. He's just so good. But I mean, for the fans that were knocking me for saying get Ashton Jeanty, yeah, if he falls that far, he's an absolute steal. But that's not going to happen, obviously. But I think Ashton Jeanty will be dope as hell for the Ravens. Obviously not going to happen, but I like Ashton Jeanty's game a lot. But if we're talking running backs, let's go and look at the running back board and see not really too much in terms of craziness. Obviously, Ashton Jeanty is huge. Omarion Hampton, obviously everyone talks about him. I really like Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. I think he's going to be a great running back for our team. So, and he's also another player in second round somewhere. You could acquire him. I'm not saying the Ravens waste a second round pick. I won't say waste, but use a second round pick on Henderson. But again, these are players that could potentially be of service for a team like the Ravens. I know Cam Scatterbo, a lot of people like him. I'm not sure the Ravens are going to spend a second round draft pick on him either. We're looking near the end of the 3rd and 4th rounds where if you love a guy like a Jadon Blue or a Devin Neal out of Kansas, then maybe you make that decision. But these are all positions where I think the Ravens have potential to look at. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we'll see. What else? Talked about running back. We talked about tight end. Let's go wide receiver, because I think wide receiver is another talking point that, Ravens fans love talking about wide receiver. And if you've followed me for years, wide receiver has been my jam for a long time. But I think this year, more so than ever, you can say that the wide receiver room is lacking, but also a little underrated. I think the wide receiver room is a lot better than a lot of teams and fans are given credit for. Obviously, McMillan's the number 1 wide receiver on a lot of people's boards. He wouldn't be number 1 last year. I mean, you have Neighbors, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., all these guys out there with supreme talent. So I don't know if he's up there with them, but right now he's to be had. He's a commodity. Let's say, for instance, Emeka Egbuka, who I have very high, top 20 on my draft board, falls to the Ravens. And you see a pass rusher that you really like gets scooped up by these pass rusher hungry teams. Maybe you make the claim. How many years does Rashad Bateman have left on this deal? We don't know if Zay Flowers is going to be able to re-sign. So as a Raven, you as a fan and as a front office personnel, you can't really think about, oh, we have all this surplus of talent. We have the opportunity to look ahead into the future, really bolster our depth and get the youth in case we're unable to sign these guys. So that's where my mindset's at. We're looking at this draft because the Ravens roster is already set. They can go out, and I think John Harbaugh mentioned this, they can go out today and compete for a championship with the roster that they have. They have 11 opportunities to build upon this roster. So it's really exciting if you're a fan. I know a very disappointing ending to the season last year, but very interesting opportunity for Ravens fans to get some talent. So let's look at this wide receiver run, because I do like some guys that a lot of people aren't really talking about. Ted McMillan's number 1 on my list right now. Egbuka is actually number 2 on my list. Luther Burden is number 3. He looks, he can run a route. And again, if you know me, you know, can you run a route? Can you catch the football? You do those two things really well, you have a good chance of being high on my board. And Luther Burden can do that. He just looks a little slow off his breaks for me compared to Egbuka, who really thrives in traffic. And you know the Ravens don't do a very good job spreading their offense out. So a lot of these receivers are playing in traffic. Are you comfortable playing in traffic? Are you comfortable catching balls in tight windows? And I think Egbuka does that very well. And I've been watching a lot of mock drafts, and Egbuka hasn't been sometimes even drafted in the first round. I just don't know if push comes to shove. I know there's positions that Ravens fans want, but we talk about best player available. We talk about what Eric DeCosta does. Eric DeCosta is not afraid of drafting receivers in the first round. You already have Zay Flowers. You have Rashad Bateman. But again, contracts are coming up. The pay comes due. We know what these receivers are getting. Look at what's going on in Cincinnati. Look at what the Steelers paid for DK Metcalf. Are the Ravens willing to pay that much for these guys? Or are they willing to grab another stud in the first round and then work their way from there? So I don't know. Egbuka seems like a tantalizing option for me, per se. Other guys, I love Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins reminds me of a T. Higgins. You know, he looks really good, a little slower than a lot of fans like. You know, fans want speed at wide receiver, and I get it, but can you run a route? Can you catch the football? Jaden Higgins can do that. So Iowa State receiver, I really like him a lot. He's more of a early second round guy. So if the Ravens, you know, decide to trade up in the second round for a guy they love, don't be surprised if a guy like Jaden Higgins comes to mind. So a lot of these guys, again, Jalen Royals, love him. Kyle Williams, really high on a lot of people's big boards. You know, not so much as far as mock drafts are going. I see him more of a second and third round guy. Don't be surprised if a team falls in love with him and takes a chance on him as well. Xavier Restrepo, more of a slot guy in my opinion. The Ravens, you know, have slot guys for days, so I'm not sure how much value he has. Jalen Knowles, another guy opposite Jaden Higgins that can cause some attention. So lots of good guys. I mean, Isaiah Bond, he's going through some trouble right now, off the field issues. So I'm not sure he's even on the Ravens draft board, considering what the Ravens have going on with Justin Tucker. Ty Felton, wide receiver from Maryland. He's a guy that you can get in the 4th or 5th round, potentially. You have some easy access to coaches to get your thoughts on him. So if you see a guy like Felton be had like Bo Braid was during the undrafted free agency period, then yeah, you can take a shot at him. Jimmy Horn Jr. Fans love Jimmy Horn Jr., and I don't blame him. We saw Coach Harbaugh talk about potentially getting a guy in the return game. The Ravens have really lacked that explosion in the return game. They've brought in a various number of guys, but Jimmy Horn's a guy who can potentially be that receiver guy, a la what they've had in the past with other guys, and also make his way up the depth chart. And the Ravens are already filled in wide receiver. I know they got Tez Walker. A lot of fans want to see more out of Tez Walker. I do as well. But again, you got 11 draft picks. Go ahead and take a shot. It's not going to hurt your roster too much. Again, there's so much depth in the middle of these rounds. You can take a shot on the guy you want. If you have 11 picks, doesn't work out, then you know it doesn't really hurt you. I know Ravens fans want to hit on each and every draft pick, but the more draft picks you have, the more chances you have to succeed. Okay. Enough about the stuff that doesn't matter. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. Offensive line. Let's start there because a lot of fans really want to end the suffering. And Cole Jackson, I'm not sure if Cole, my buddy Cole, road runners, I should say, big on offensive line. He's been talking about how the Ravens need to get interior offensive line help. I agree. You watch the film, you see two guys that really don't move well with their feet, doesn't really do a good job on their side of the ball to prevent these stunts from going after Lamar Jackson. I mean, easy access to the quarterback. Fastest way to get to the quarterback is in the middle of the defense. I mean, you see what Nnamdi Madubuike, I should say, had success with the Ravens. So, you know, you want to make sure that you limit the opportunities for these pass rushers to get to your quarterback. And Daniel Faalele, you know, Pro Bowl, yeah, you know, shout outs to John Harbaugh for being proven right, I guess. But still the floor is low. Ceiling's high, floor is low. And lost Patrick McCary to free agency. We saw a little bit of what Voorhees can do again in Week 18 against the Browns. He looked a little better than usual. The Ravens may be more adept to keeping him as opposed to addressing the interior of this offensive line. But I think if there's one position on the roster that the Ravens could afford to upgrade, it's this. I mean, we could talk about edge rusher, and we will in a little bit. And Calvin Noy and Odafe Owe, David Ojabo, they're a big part of that conversation. But when you talk about addressing a need, interior offensive line, I think, is at the top of the list. The only problem is not very many good options worth the value. And I'll tell you what I talk about right now. Will Campbell's the consensus number one tackle in this draft. I don't agree with that. I think has more of a future at guard, in my opinion. But, I'm not really an offensive line guy like that. Just looking at the film, Armand Membu is my number one tackle, and he's a tackle. I think he's great, athletic enough to be a tackle. Of course, if you're a tackle, you could be a guard in a lot of ways. So would not surprise me if he plays a little bit of guard, depending on the roster of some of these teams that are looking to grab this tackle. But I think if you're drafting a tackle in the first round, he's playing tackle on day one, especially if you're in the top 10 of this draft, where I think a lot of people are suggesting Membo will go. So Missouri tackle, Membo, number one on my board. Josh Simmons, number two for me. And Josh Simmons, I think a lot of people are grading him as a potential guard as well. I think he would be perfect. I've seen him fall on some boards. Another guy, he falls into the teens, gets past the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. Steelers are probably looking at a quarterback because right now they don't have any, Shout outs to the Steelers Nation. But I think there's a chance that if Josh Simmons falls, he could be a guy the Ravens will go and grab. I can guarantee you that. The tape is just too phenomenal for that. Will Campbell, all intents and purposes, it looks like he's going to be a Patriot. I guess, they need to protect Drake May, and he's the guy that many consider to be, the tackle of the future. But I don't know. Not my cup of tea, but he's number 3 on my list. Kelvin Banks, a guy. I think he's going to make that switch to interior offensive line as well. A lot of these guys are being graded as tackles where they're coming in, but you make that move to guard, and your stock just rises. A lot of good interior offensive linemen in this draft. And no, Ravens fans got on me a little bit about that, saying there's some good interior offensive line, and I was grading them at first as their position, but when I went back and looked at it and saw where a couple of teams and reporters were stating they would move to, I got really excited about the possibility. There's one guy that I really, really like in this draft who I know will likely fall because GMs aren't smart. But if he falls to 27 and you hear his name, do not be surprised if the Ravens call this name and put him in to be the new left guard or right guard of the Baltimore Ravens, and that's Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. Just a phenomenal guard. I mean, he played tackle at North Dakota State. He's going to be a guard or center. You plug him in at guard, and you're good. The pass blocking, phenomenal. If Tyler Linderbaum doesn't get that max contract he's looking for to be the highest paid center, Ravens would be foolish not to. But let's just play devil's advocate and say he doesn't get signed to the Ravens and he goes somewhere else. You can plug Zabel in at center as well. Now, I think he's better at guard. I think they should put him in a guard. But man, whatever way you slice it, whoever drafts this guy, if you're looking for a guard to fill your team, and I'm looking at the Seahawks like, ooh, I can see the Seahawks making a move for him. So the Ravens may want to move up to get somebody like him as well. I put Gray Zabel as probably the best interior offensive lineman in this draft, more so than Tyler Booker. I know a lot of fans want Tyler Booker. I like Tyler Booker, but we have Tyler Booker. We have what Tyler Booker could be in Daniel Faalele, and in some respects, Voorhees. I know people aren't going to want to hear that, but his athleticism just reminds me too much of what we have. I know the Ravens don't play a spread wide offensive blocking scheme as most of these other teams, but I think if the Ravens want to take their next step in the evolution of their offense, they want to be more free-ranging in terms of what they're asking the offensive linemen to do. And I don't know if you have that with Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker can play the style of football the Ravens are currently playing, but when I'm thinking about evolving this offense and where I thought the Ravens were going to go last year with this in terms of their blocking and schematics, then I don't know if Tyler Booker's that guy. Now, again, if Tyler Booker falls in the second round, I think the Ravens have to make a consensus effort to maybe attempt to go and grab a guy like that. But in my opinion, Tyler Booker is not the number one interior offensive lineman in this draft. It goes to Gray Zabel. I think if Gray Zabel and Tyler Booker are both available at 27, the Ravens would be crazy not to grab Zabel. I just love this film. Go ahead and check him out on YouTube or wherever you get your film study from. If you want to take a look at him, Gray Zabel, North Dakota State, my number one interior offensive lineman in this draft. Okay, let's go with the meat and potatoes of this. Nope, before we do, I know you guys want to talk edge rusher. Before we go edge rusher, I want to talk about corner back, because number one cornerback, obviously, Travis Hunter. I'm not a fan of Jahdae Barron. I know a lot of fans are like, ooh, Jahdae Barron's available. My buddy Kim McCusick loves Jahdae. I don't know. Just something about him doesn't, I mean, one, his size. We already got a guy in Nate Wiggins who isn't as short as Barron, but obviously in that same frame. I just don't know. I didn't like his fluidity of his hips. I think he's more of a second round corner. I think there's only two corners really that are first round graded, in my opinion. That's Will Johnson out of Michigan and Travis Hunter, obviously, out of Colorado. But Jahdae Barron, I don't know. I like Trey Amos a little better than Jahdae Barron. I think you can get some value with a Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. He underrated guy. I don't know if I mentioned Trey Amos, but out of Mississippi, but he's another guy. Second rounder, would not mind that as well. But Jahdae Barron, I know I've seen a lot of Ravens fans say, ooh, if he's available at 27, maybe pick him up. I'm okay with that. I think I'll pass on that. Love to get your thoughts on it, though. Let's go back to Instagram. I know Instagram, we got some guys here. G-Man says Ravens forever. Kevin said Ashton Jeanty or Malachi Starks. Ashton Jeanty, I mean, obviously, is the answer. But while we're at it, we might as well talk safety, because safety has become a polarizing topic for the Ravens recently. And some of that's because, one, the Ravens need safety help. I think if you've watched film as early as beginning of last year and then watch what the Ravens did in 2024, and I'm talking about early last year, I mean 2023 under Mike McDonald, and then 2024 with Zachary Orr, you know, the big change was safety play. I think safety play was terrible last year for a large portion of the season, so much so that they moved Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens play a lot of big nickel, and that basically means having Kyle Hamilton be that third nickel corner and really forcing defenses and run plays and passing plays to really hone in on number 14. And they took that away. They said, scratch it. It's not worth the headache. I mean, having that versatility at safety is great, but instead they moved Kyle Hamilton to that shell 2 safety look and really limited the amount of big players that opposing teams had. It worked. The Ravens defense excelled, but you talk about, why didn't the Ravens have any turnovers? Why was the pass rush lacking? Where was all the Kyle Hamilton plays that we saw so much of in the Ravens push to the AFC Championship in 23? Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens tried their best to keep Kyle Hamilton there. And when he's there and he has decent safety help on the back end, this defense is outstanding. So I think safety is a concern for the Ravens. The Ravens will love to add a safety. It's a luxury. You just drafted Kyle Hamilton a few seconds ago. Or Darius Washington looked good. You know, he didn't sign with another team, so he's staying for at least for another season. But, you know, a third safety is a luxury, but it's a luxury that you can afford to have when you're picking in the bottom 20% of the draft. You got Ravens, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles. Those 4 teams are sitting pretty, and you can add the Bills to that if you want as well. Even though the Bills, I think, have a little more holes in their game, as well as the Chiefs, to be completely honest, on their roster than the Eagles and the Ravens. But the Ravens can afford to go luxury here and draft the safety. We've seen them do it time and time again. Did it with Marlon Humphrey when we thought they were going to get O.J. Howard at tight end. They got Marlon Humphrey, even though they had cornerback pieces already available. They can afford to draft a safety. A first-round safety, how many of them do we really have as far as grades are going? Malachi Starks. I've said it time and time again. Malachi Starks. Again, my buddy Ken isn't really a fan of Malachi Starks, at least to the point of drafting him in the first round. I think he has him as more of a day 2 pick. Team Ramey, appreciate you for joining. Facts, yes, sir. Malachi Starks is the guy. He just is. He doesn't have. You don't have to make him be anything that he isn't already. Just keep him in the back end. Make Kyle Hamilton be that third safety. If you're playing a situation where you don't need three safeties on the field, keep him on the bench. Switch him off for Darius Washington, whatever you want to do. Fact is, Malachi Starks, I think, is the guy. Nick Emmanwori, my buddy Ken loves him. I'm not a fan of Ken. And I think he had a conversation with Jonas Schaefer of the Baltimore Banner sometime last week. This fan base and really a lot of draft pundits are split on Nick Emmanwori being a first-round grade or not. Again, I treat all my players as though they're pro players. Can you cover consistently? How are you treating double moves? Things of that nature. I mean, you can look at the stats and you can look at the combine stats and say, oh well, he's a fast safety, he's a big safety. His numbers were decent when he was in South Carolina, but overall, I don't think he's ready to play NFL pro safety. I mean, if there's one team that can take a chance on a guy like Nick Emmanwori, it is the Ravens. But you're asking for trouble. I mean, we saw what happened with this team last year when they had safeties that were getting beat, that didn't understand how to play the position. At least they were playing like that for whatever reason. And I'm not sure if you want to go back to that. Spend the first round draft pick on a guy like Nick Emmanwori. Now, if Nick gets it together, yes, he's by far the best safety in this draft. He has a skill set, at least athleticism-wise, that is comparable to Sean Taylor almost. I mean, he's just that fast, that dynamic, that strong, but he doesn't know how to play the position right now. So Nick is actually number 5 on my list of safeties right now. He's number 5. I have Malachi Starks as 1. I have Kevin Winston as 2. I have Andrew Mukuba. Andrew Mukuba as number 3 on my list of safeties. He's a guy the Ravens can get in the second round, and I'd be very, very excited about. He has a slim frame. A lot of teams are wary of that. But again, so is Nate Wiggins. You can get small here, especially in today's NFL where teams are getting smaller on the receiver side of things and really trying to spread these defenses with speed. You see it with the Chiefs. They got Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown back there. You don't need a 230-pound safety to have success. Andrew Mukuba, great cover safety. Probably the best cover safety in this draft. Are you getting much in run support? Probably not as much as you'd like. I know John Harbaugh doesn't really care for safeties that aren't able to tackle, but you get great value of Andrew Mukuba in the second round. But if you don't go Andrew Mukuba in the second round, Malachi Starks falls to you, and some of the guys that we mentioned are no longer on the board. I don't know how you pass on Malachi Starks. I just don't know. I mean, is his game perfect? No. If his game was perfect, he'd be drafted in the top 15. He has holes to his game. But for this defense, but for this side of things, I had him number 3 on my board. I moved him down to number 4. But I mean, number 4 overall player drafted at 27 is just too good to pass up. So that's where I'm at with safety. Again, Malachi Starks, if he's available, I say go get him. I understand deciding not to, but I don't know. I don't know if you turn down Malachi Starks. And Andre said, what's up, Mason? What's going on, brother? Brian Mann says, what do you think we need to do as a team to make the bowl? Oh, that's easy. That's an easy answer. How about not choking? Let's not choke in the postseason. Let's pretend like we belong. Okay? Why is the moment too big for the Ravens in the postseason? I will never know. Who's better than the Baltimore Ravens? Who's better? Are the Bills better than the Baltimore Ravens last year? No. The Ravens blew them out in the season. What are we talking about? Are the Ravens better or worse than the Chiefs last year? Better. The Ravens are better than the Chiefs last year. The Ravens are better than the Chiefs the year before. But the moment got too big for them. Are the Ravens better than the Eagles? Probably not. Ravens probably lose in the Super Bowl, or it's going to be a close game. Better than that Chiefs Eagles, whatever that was. But Eagles seemed destined. They were a buzzsaw. But in the AFC, the Ravens are roster to roster, band for band. There's no better team in the AFC, even now. And this draft isn't going to do anything to change that. So I still think going into this season, regardless of what these other teams in the bottom of the draft do. The Ravens will be the best team in the AFC. So to answer your question, how do they make the Super Bowl and win it? Stop beating yourself. Ramey agrees with me. He says they beat themselves 95% of the time. More like 99. There's only one team that I saw last year that beat the Ravens, and it was the Eagles. Every other team the Ravens lost to is because the Ravens beat themselves, missed kicks, blown coverages. So I'm not going to spend too much time knocking the Ravens. We know the Ravens choke in the postseason. They've done it a long time. You know what I'm saying? Ramey said true, yes. So they've done it for years. Whenever they decide they want to win, I'll be there waiting for them. I have plane tickets, hotel rooms ready to go each and every year where I believe the Ravens are going to go to the championship. I had it ready in Vegas, had it ready in New Orleans. This year to San Francisco, I'll have my travel arrangements prepared to be at Radio Row if the Ravens make it, but I can't play football for them. I can't not fumble the ball or throw the turnover or drop the pass for the 2-point conversion or, that's not me. So we'll see. We'll see what the Ravens do. But again, this is the best team in the AFC, band for band. Can they get it done in the postseason? Can the coaching staff get out of their own way? Keep Derrick Henry on the field on passing downs, even though they may not give him the ball. It's okay to give the defense something to think about, And that's going off on a tangent. We'll keep it on the draft, and we'll have time in the podcast and other live streams to talk about what the Ravens need to do. But yeah, the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. Who's going to deny me that? The Ravens have the best quarterback in the AFC, and Lamar Jackson. They have the best running back in the AFC, and Derrick Henry. So the only person stopping the Baltimore Ravens are those Baltimore Ravens. Okay, so let's talk about edge rusher. And I need to be honest with Ravens fans. Edge rusher is not what you think it is. It's just not. I think Ravens fans are looking for Micah Parsons. They're looking for Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt. You're not going to find those guys in this draft. The Ravens fans are talking to me like, okay, we need to find a dominant pass rusher in this draft that can stop the run and get after the quarterback 55 to 75% of the time. That's not in this draft. And well, it is in this draft, but you're not drafting there. Are you picking number 3? Because that's the only way you're getting an edge rusher of that caliber. You don't like Odafe Oweh? Well, you're drafting an Odafe Oweh in this upcoming draft. You're drafting an Odafe Oweh. You're hoping he has more upside. You're hoping he expounds upon his greatness to get there. But you're drafting an Odafe Oweh. You're drafting a project. Odafe Oweh came into this league not getting those double-digit sacks. The Ravens pass rusher, Chuck Smith, those guys got together and they built upon his repertoire and got him to where he is today. A lot of Ravens fans think, oh, he's inconsistent. He's not inconsistent. He's growing. And so these pass rushers that are coming in have the skill set, the ability to do what Odafe Oweh is currently doing. But if you're looking for Myles Garrett and then 27th overall pick, you're not getting it. There's only one Myles Garrett guy, and he's Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Number 1 on my draft board. He's that guy. You want the Ravens to draft the number 2? No. But there are good pass rushers in this draft, guys that can come and, compliment Kyle Van Noy, compliment Odafe Oweh, be that third pass rusher for the Ravens this year. And then depending on what happens with Odafe Oweh or Kyle Van Noy next year, be pushed into that number 1 spot as a elite pass rusher. But right now, if you're looking for a guy that's going to come in and hand him the gold jacket in year 1, it's just not there. The closest thing to Abdul Carter in this draft is Mike Green, who has off-the-field issues. I didn't put off-the-field issues on his board, especially for Mike Green. I took Isaiah Bond out of my draft board because the off-field issues are just too much for the Ravens to touch. But there's some people who believe if Mike Green's available, the Ravens may take a stab at him. I think Mike Green is closest to Abdul Carter in terms of pass rushing as we see in this draft board. I think a case can be made that Mike Green is the better pass rusher. I mean, that's where I'm at with Mike Green. But again, off-field issues, if you want to look into it, go ahead. I won't mention it here. But he didn't start at Marshall, I'll tell you that. He wasn't the player that started his career at Marshall. He had to leave to go to Marshall. some other stuff happened, but seems like he's been on the right track, but there's risk. There's risk, and the talent speaks for itself. He's a dominant edge rusher out of Marshall. I mean, he was the man among boys. And so if you're looking for a guy that could potentially be that Abdul Carter, there's a 27th pick, let's get a Myles Garrett and have that dominant edge rusher like the Eagles had and like the Browns have and the Steelers have. And then Mike Green might be your best bet for that. He's number 2 in my edge rushers room. Donovan Ezeuruku is out of Boston College, another really good edge rusher. I think he's a little underrated, in my opinion. He's not in the same tier as Mike Green and Abdul Carter, but he's right there. He's somebody that I could see being in the bottom of the draft. I would not be surprised if he's drafted in the top 15. I think he's that good of a pass rusher. And that's it. That's it for the first round grade, sure thing prospects. Now, there are other edge rushers in the bottom of the draft who I think the Ravens could acquire. Again, if you're drafting in the 27th, 28th, 29th, you're really drafting second round draft picks. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. You're really drafting the bottom tier of the first round. That sounds bad, but it's not really. As far as prospects go, there are guys to be had. So a lot of people are pointing to James Pierce. I'm more of a Mykel Williams guy. Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, those guys are projects as well. James Pierce is a guy more of a project, less of a project as the other guys, but still a guy that isn't going to be ready in day one to just blow the wheels off of your pass rushing room. So James Pierce, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Mykel Williams, all those, maybe Landon Jackson if you're really desperate, but I think those guys, Landon Jackson especially more of a second round guy. Mykel Williams is the guy who many told to be a second round guy. I could see the Ravens picking him up in the first round because he has some good game to him, a decent run defender, more so in my opinion than a pass rusher, but a good player for Georgia. So I could see them going that route with them. But edge rushing is sexy, but I still think there's some decent interior defensive linemen as well that if you're looking to build your pass rush, you can find a guy. And there's a lot more, I think, of first-round graded talent in my board that you can really lean in on. Derek Harmon, I'm in love with. I think Derek Harmon, I like kind of the way I like Jalen Carter in the first round. I think Derek Harmon, a lot of people saw him as a second-round talent. And let me look at my notes for him. I said he's only been good for a year, right? But he is a great 3 technique defensive lineman. He could be your even front defensive guy, pass rusher guy. He's good. He's good. And I'm not sure why he's not higher than a lot of people on his board, but he's my he's my number 3 defensive lineman after Mason Graham and Walter Nolan. I have him right there with Kenneth Grant and Tyleik Williams. No, he's better than him in my opinion, better than Omar Norman a lot. Let me look at him. Orman, I don't like him much as a run defender, but as a pass rusher, I like what he can offer. I still think that if you're looking for an upgrade from Travis Jones, you're not going to get it with any of these guys except for a Derek Harmon. So, again, a guy that a lot of people have graded as a second-round guy. I can see the Ravens saying, okay, well, we like him. Let's go ahead and make that pick. And nobody will really consider that, in my opinion, to be a reach, in my opinion. I just like Derek Harmon a lot. So that's where I'm going. Mason Graham probably going to the Jaguars. Walter Nolan, love that guy as well. Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, Tyleik Williams, Omar Norman, a lot. All good guys to be had. Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. Don't be surprised if he goes. Jordan Phillips for my Maryland Terps fans. He can go, I think, in the second or third round. Ty Robinson. I like Ty Robinson a lot as well. He could be a guy the Ravens can go after if they're not able to acquire a defensive lineman in the first 2 rounds. I think he's a guy that you can grab in the third round. Some people have him as a 4th round, day 3 grade. Don't risk it. Just go ahead and get him. So he could be a guy where, trade Mark Andrews for a 3rd rounder or a 4th rounder. use it on him. Peebles out of Virginia Tech. I've seen a lot of movement about him recently. He's a phenomenal rusher of the pass. Not much in the run game type of things. His measurables, he's only 6'1", so a lot of teams are really fancy with that, but I don't really care. Can you play football or can't you? He can play football, so lots of depth and edge and defensive line. So the Ravens shouldn't have a problem bringing in a guy. But again, if you're a Ravens fan, you think, oh, I need to get a Myles Garrett. The Browns have Myles Garrett. The Steelers have T.J. Watt. The Bengals have or had Trey Hendrickson. Who knows what that crazy franchise is doing with their guy. But everybody has a premier pass rusher, but the Ravens, I'm not sure if you're getting a premier pass rusher in this draft class unless you're getting a Mike Green fall into the late 20s. So something to think about if you're a Ravens fan. Again, a lot of fans say we have to go. We got to win in the trenches. We got to get a edge rusher. We got to do it. Like, do you? If one of those top guys that I mentioned isn't available and Malachi Starks is there, or where's my corner that I love so much? Or a corner that maybe you didn't think would be there. Will Johnson, his injury concerns, hasn't fallen on a lot of boards. If he's there, maybe you give up on that edge rusher in the first round and instead go interior line in the second round. Find your Michael Pierce replacement and still have that pass rushing ability. I think Odafe Oweh is great. I think David Ojabo gets a lot of criticism. We have to realize he's injured coming into the beginning of his career in Baltimore, starting to grow as well. Maybe isn't flashing as much as many would have hoped, but I put David Ojabo over a lot of these guys that people have a Nick scoring. He has a shot, right? But I like my hands better with David Ojabo, but we'll see. Not really much in the ways of coming from me, regardless of what they do, but the Ravens are in good hands in the first round. A lot of these players are going to fall, and it's up to what they would decide to do. Is it really best player available or not? Been kind of disregarding the comments, but I'll try and look at it. Is he the best safety? Andre says. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Sorry, I didn't get to it, but I think you're talking about Malachi Starks, and if he is, yes. Dude from South Carolina, legit too, at 6'3", 220 ball hawk. Yes, Mason, he is. He's talking about Amanwari. He has potential. Are you drafted potential in the first round? We've seen the Ravens fail at that at times. We've seen a lot of teams reach for potential. For starters, I try not to watch the combine. I don't believe in the combine. Are we playing in shorts come Sundays, or are we playing in pads? How much am I going to get out of watching the combine that I won't get from watching film? So I think, there's been some success from the combine. I don't know if Josh Allen was even that talked about until the combine. So we'll see. But, I don't like missing. I like to hit my picks, and the film does a better job than I think the combine of anything. Andre says run the effing ball. I agree. Our defense should be much better this season in year 2. We'll see. They need to get some safety help. Maybe a linebacker to put next to Roquan. I don't know. I think you have a shot. Again, you got 11 draft picks. I'm sure they'll do their due diligence and draft a linebacker. They have to. They lost 2 linebackers in the offseason. Let's look at the linebackers right now. They got Jihad Campbell. He's going to be gone. Jalen Walker. Ooh. I forgot to mention him. Jalen Walker. He's a guy. He's like bottom tier first round guys, fringe first round guys in a couple of boards that I've seen. Jalen Walker out of Georgia. If Jalen Walker was on another team other than, Power 5, dominant Georgia, he may have slipped the cracks in some people's boards, but he's very much well known to be a very great pass rusher. He's not a linebacker. I don't think he's a linebacker, Jalen Walker is. I think he is a pass rusher, but he's a guy that I think a lot of teams would do well to look at. So we'll see where the Ravens stand with him. But Demetrius Knight, Chris Paul looks good. I like Jeffrey Bassa out of Oregon as well. Not really a lot of good linebackers. I'm going to be honest with you. Not a lot of good linebackers, but the Ravens need to address the position. I think they're going to go with Trenton Simpson as their number 2 guy. I think Roquan Smith today talked about working with him this offseason to kind of gain that rapport. So I think the Ravens are going to try and go with him, but the Ravens need to find some linebackers to fill some slots. So some depth pieces available for the Ravens to look at in this upcoming draft. Okay. Andre said Nick and Moore. Yes. I know Nick. Andre. Don't worry. I know him. I'm just not convinced he's worth that number one grade. I could be wrong. Again, if you guys watch Ken McCusick, he's a big Nick guy. He loves him. And his measurables speak for themselves. Even his stats aren't bad at South Carolina. Too many mistakes I saw, too much reminiscent of what we saw in the first few games of the Ravens. Kind of leery about it. Chance Malachi Starks goes, and then if Nick's available, hey, I won't be mad at it, but he's definitely not a polished safety. He's going to need to be worked with. The potential is through the roof. His ceiling is crazy high. Tyler Campbell says we need linebackers, but I think cornerbacks are more important since we lost White. You got Owuze, so you got him. You got TJ Tampa. You drafted him in the 4th round out of Iowa State. You can't have too many corners, obviously. So, yeah, you can get a corner. You can get linebackers. I think the linebacker group here is just crazy. So if you really like a linebacker, you better go get him because after that, there's not really much in the way of talent, in my opinion. But corner, you can get some decent corners out here. No Nate Wiggins. I'm not even sure you'll get somebody in the stature of TJ Tampa if you wait until the 3rd round. But some guys. Okay, wouldn't be against the D-line. Nope, I wouldn't be against the D-line either. Tampa's been too crazy for us. Tampa hasn't been too crazy for us. Yeah, he's a rookie. That guard Tyler from Alabama, nice. Andre says, yeah, we just talked about that. Tyler is second on my list, but Zabel out of North Dakota State is my number one interior offensive lineman, so I would love to get him. T. Ramey, a few minutes ago, said, who do I like at interior defensive line? I probably talked about it already, but I will just go ahead and in case you weren't here to listen to it. I like Derek Harmon a lot. He's probably going to be available for the Ravens in the 2nd round. Maybe. Tyreek Williams, another good guy. Omar Norman Lott is falling on a lot of boards. He is a great pass rusher as well. He's a 2nd round grade for me. That's pretty much it. Jordan Phillips isn't bad either. Out of Maryland, not bad. But I think if there's a chance they can get a guy like Derek Harmon, I'd be ecstatic. Okay, so we're done talking about my top 5. Awesome. Let's do a mock draft. Let's see how I share this. Present my screen. So we can do a sweet mock draft. We're going to do 2 mock drafts. We're going to do one where you guys decide who we get. We're going to do one where you guys decide who we get. And then we'll do another one where I make my selections and choices. Based off of how the board falls. So we'll go Ravens. Let me share my screen first. Who do we got? All right, here we go. All right, so mock draft time. Oops, forgot to pick a team. Let's go Ravens and a draft. All right, so teams are picking. Cam Ward's off the clock already. No problem, Ramey. Appreciate you for joining. All right, so we talked about people being available. Malachi Starks is off the board. He just went, and let me see if I can increase this a little more so you guys can see it. No, I think it was good. Okay, you guys should be fine. You know what? I'll increase it because I'd be blind too. Malachi Starks off the board. 25 goes to the Texans. Let's start from the top. So Cam Ward obviously goes number 1. Shedeur Sanders, number 2 to the Browns. I don't see that happening. Travis Hunter goes to the Jaguars. That'd be crazy. Jahdae Barron, the guy who I'm not really fond of, goes to the Raiders. No surprise there. Amon Membu. Abdul Carter goes number 9. So, this draft board isn't really, it's not a science to it. I don't see it going down like this. But Tyler Warren goes 14 to the Colts. And I think the Chargers are looking for a tight end too. So let's see what the Chargers do. Chargers went Walter Nolan. I don't know how Walter Nolan fell here. This is a crazy. I'm gonna start this over. This is insane. I don't agree with this at all. Maybe my settings were crazy. Public opinion. Let's go here. Randomness. I don't want randomness. I want real stuff here. All right, let's pick the Ravens and do this again. All right. Whoa. This is why you're supposed to wait to do things until you actually have a good idea. Because that was crazy. Bill Carter going number 1. We know that's not happening. Let's go less randomness. And pick the Ravens and go. All right, there you go. Way better. All right, so Cam Ward went number 1 to the Titans. Travis Hunter 2. Shedeur Sanders number 3. Isn't as crazy as people think? They did the whatever they had to do, but I know they're pretty much not going Shedeur Sanders. But it doesn't matter for the Ravens either way. The top 10 looks like the top 10. Tyler Warren goes to the Bears, and the reason why I'm looking at tight end is because we know there's some tight end hungry teams that may be interested in the services of one Mark Andrews, Jalen Walker, we talked about, loving him. He went to the Falcons. Mikael Williams, who we talked about. Shamar Stewart, not too high on. Mikael Williams going to the Bengals makes sense. Mike Green, who I was really high on, even though he's off the field issues, he goes to the Seahawks. Donovan Ezoroku, again, a guy. Again, those are the 3 type edges in my opinion. So if I'm a Raven, I'm not looking at any of the edge rushers in the first round. That's me. Josh Simmons, I think top tier tackle. Ohio State goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're probably going quarterback here. Emeka Egbuka, if he was available, I would have hit on that potentially. Malachi Starks, love him as well. Kelvin Banks, love him. Colston Loveland, tight end, goes to the Rams. The Ravens are thinking about trading him Andrews. The Chargers didn't get a tight end, and it's no secret that the Chargers are one of the teams interested in Andrews' services. So anyway, we have some players available here. We got James Pierce, edge rusher. I'm going to move this back a little bit because it's hard to see. James Pierce is available. Omarion Hampton. Gray Zabel. Tramos. So who are fans wanting? Let's look at the comments. We got a few people here. What are you guys thinking we do here in the first round? We talked about interior offensive line. We got Gray Zabel here. If you really want an edge rusher and you're a Ravens fans, then you go James Pierce. Let's look at the edges we have available. James Pierce, Nick Score, and Landon Jackson. I mean, a run of edges going off here. So if you're a Raven front office and you're thinking, okay, we want to make sure we get an edge rusher, you might have to trade up to 18, 19. We know the Broncos need some draft picks. The Vikings as well, but I don't know if the board falls like this, but if it does, I think the edge rusher's already gone. Walter Nolan is a crazy steal at 24. All right, so who are we picking? I'm seeing a lot of Harmon. Look, Harmon for sure. Let's see. If we need Harmon, I agree with that pick if Harmon's available, by the way. Harmon is definitely available. Let's go draft him. Liquid Plasmid said Harmon for sure. I'm not seeing anybody else saying anything crazy to oppose that. Tyler said cornerbacks and linebackers come to mind first. We'll do you a favor and look at the cornerbacks and see what happens. Trey Amos is available. He's Pro Football Focus has him ranked 28th. Ravens are picking 27th, so not insane reach. But again, I'm high on Harmon. Mason and Tyler going at it in the chat on Instagram. That's crazy. Be nice, guys. So in my opinion, in fact, I'll talk about my opinion afterwards, but I like the selection that Plasman has. We're going to go with Derek Harmon. out of Oregon. First pick taken. We're feeling good. Now, we're back. Round 2. Cam Scatterboo, notable name taken. Carson Schweissinger, linebacker out of UCLA. I know Tyler wanted a linebacker. He's gone. Xavier Restrepo, if you're a receiver nut, he's gone as well. Donovan Jackson, a good lineman, potentially the guy. He's gone. Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame. Jackson Dart, taken by the Jets. I think that might be not a bad idea. Gray's able taken with the 31st pick. The Chiefs, that would be heartbreaking. The Bills take James Pierce. Eagles get Richard with Luther Burden. There's some talks that, A.J. Brown might be getting traded. They denounced those rumors, but Luther Burden really does fill that hole. Ramey says, good pick. I agree. I like the pick a lot. But now we're in round 2. In round 2, we got, based on the board that Pro Football, this isn't my board, by the way, Pro PFF, who has a decent job of doing this, has Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame as the number 1 corner available. Kevin Winston, who I like a lot at safety. You weren't able to get Malachi. I think Kevin Winston was my 2 or 3 safety. He's available. Omar Norman Lotz. We weren't able to get. We already have 1 interior defensive lineman. I don't think the Ravens will get 2. Running back Travion Henderson. I like him a lot. Who do Ravens fans want to pick? Guard play last season was god-awful, Andre Mason says. I agree. Tyler says, I think we need someone to pair with Roquan. We got Demetrius Knight. Let's take a look at him. He's an older guy, but he's definitely good at tackling. Do you think the Ravens are going to spend a second-round pick on a linebacker, even though they have some chances here to, linebacker's not really, but not as safety as well. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm going to leave it up to you guys because I'm going to do, after this, I'm going to do my own. And I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity. Ramey says Winston. Kevin Winston. And I like the pick too. Ramey, I think you know ball a little bit, brother. I like that pick too as well. Liquid Plasma said I like either Ben Morrison or Arianta Asare if he's there. Let's look. Benjamin Morrison is available, obviously. We're scrolling down a bit. Doesn't mean much. Again, this isn't my board. But I don't see him here. Let me see if he's been taken already. Ooh, too far down. Looks like he's still available. But regardless, I think I'm going to go with Winston. I think the safety position, you tackle that. You have an interior pass rush. Obviously, all the edge rushes are gone, so you really choose between a corner or a safety. Let's take a look at Benjamin Morrison. I could be wrong. I didn't have him in my top 5 as corners, but he plays good man coverage. Yeah, I don't know. He's a smaller guy. He's 32 ranked on the board of PFF. He wasn't in my top 5. Winston, however, is in my top 5 of safeties. I'm going to go Winston, and we are off to the races. 2 solid picks. I think if you're a Ravens fan and you get Harmon and Winston, that's nuts. That's nuts. All right, we're at pick 91. And nobody crazy was taken as of yet. Mason Taylor, like him as a tight end, he's gone. Benjamin Morrison ended up getting picked with the 74th pick, Liquid. Josiah Stewart, edge rusher. Some people had him in the first round for some reason. Didn't see it, but Demetrius Knight is a guy I think may have been a decent pick for far as linebackers go. Either way, let's talk about it because there's a guy. He's in my top 5 in interior offensive lineman, Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. He's talking about Georgia a lot today. He's available. His pass blocking is decent. Run blocking is decent. He's not an athlete, kind of like not as bad as Tyler Booker, athletically speaking, but he's a downhill runner, somebody who can really serve a purpose. He's a potential guy. We already drafted a safety, so I'm going to assume we're not going Angie Makuba. I don't know what you guys are doing here with that. Ramey's asking about offensive line. I think offensive line might be the move. Let's look at the interior and tackles here. Tate Ratledge automatically pops to my mind, but there's still a lot of good talent here. Cam Williams is a guy who I thought would be more of a fourth rounder, but you're picking at number 91. He might as well be. His pass blocking grade and run blocking grade are very similar. He doesn't really do it for me though. I'll leave it up to you guys. I'd go Tate Ratledge. Not really much in the ways of separating yourself from Voorhees and Faalele, but not a bad move. Again, we're in the third round here. Could also trade Mark Andrews at this point. Liquid Plasma said he likes Grant. He can move inside. I think Grant was in my top tier list of tackles because of Ravens fans telling me that a lot of these tackles are going to swing inside, and you guys weren't wrong. He's a raw prospect, but I think that third round, this is the way you do it. He may not be the guy this year, but I think next year he could be that guy. And I didn't pick your guy last time, so I'm going to go ahead and pick him this time. Let's go ahead and draft Charles Grant. You are a Raven. All right. While we do that, let's look at Instagram. Again, sorry, guys, I can't put you guys on here, but I will read your comments. AJ said, we don't want Lamar running around the field. He's great, but he's finally the pocket passer we always want him to be. We need to protect him, and we need an edge rusher. So, again, I'm not sure you've been here, AJ, but, edge rushers are going to be gone flying off the board. The Ravens are going to have to trade up to get the guy they want. If not, I'm not sure edge rushers in the cards, at least the ones a lot of fans are looking for. All right, so we are at Ramey says Grant works. I agree. That was a good pick, I think. Solid pick. Again, I expect the Ravens to make moves. I don't think they pick all 11. I think they use this as capital to draft and trade up. I think they trade a guy or two, maybe. Hopefully Mark Andrews gets a day 2 grade. If not, I'm not really high on trading him. But if they were to trade Mark Andrews and get a day 2 pick, they can use that to move up and down these boards. 129. Lots, if we're going off of PFF's grade, lots of talent here. We're looking at wide receivers now. Again, we talked about it in the beginning of the show. Wide receivers are an underrated position here. You got Kyle Williams, very high on Kyle Williams. People are going to look at him and say, he's not the guy I really want. He's undersized. So I think PFF had that same outlook on him. But there's some good wide receivers here. Jones out of LSU, edge rusher. Talked about getting an edge rusher. His pass rushing grade isn't stellar, but again, we're in the 4th round, 5th round. He has the long arms to get the job done. So I like moves like this in the 4th round where you can get some talent. Ty Robinson, we already got an interior defensive lineman. Ravens love interior defensive linemen, especially around this time. But I would say Ty Robinson's another great pick for them if they weren't able to get a Derek Harmon later on. If you want to get an interior guy to kind of replace Michael Pierce, this is a guy you can look at. 6-year guy. I didn't even realize that. I wasn't even looking at that. But yeah, they have him trending up to be a potential starter eventually. I just like him. But we also have tight end Benjamin Urasek out of Georgia. If you want a wide receiver, Kyle Williams seems to be very high on a lot of people's board. You got Zay Flowers already. So I'm not sure if you really want to spend a draft pick on a receiver who's undersized and likely to play the slot. I would like a guy more like Jaden Higgins. Is he available here? He's not. He's gone. Darn it. We'll love the guy like Jaden Higgins. Oh, crap baskets. All right, let's see what Instagram says. They're still going at each other about Tyler not knowing ball. Tell you what, I'm just gonna. Ooh, Danny Stutzman. I didn't know he was available. I like Danny. He's a linebacker that can really help out, especially against the run. He's not great in coverage, but who is? Let's go Danny. Let's be different. We're going Danny. Ravens get another pick at 136. Let's look at Isaac Tesla. I'm not really a fan of his. He played D2, but he looks like he's still going to get drafted regardless. Let's see if I can find somebody else. Tyler Batty, BYU, Ute. I don't know. I'm still trying to find some, some value here. Tyler Show, he's going to get drafted. He's going to make somebody very happy. I already know, based on how PFF grades, he's not high on their list. He's not high on their list. He has the arm talent. I like him. I mean, we got Lamar Jackson, and we just got, what's his name out of Dallas, but something to think about as well. Let's see, let's go. Let's look at the running backs here. Do I have any of my guys here? Nope, all my guys are gone. Boo! I hate this draft. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, round 4, did we go kicker here? I know for this, he's ranked 359, so he's going to be available towards the end. But this might be the time where teams know the Ravens are looking for a kicker, so could be a situation where the Ravens may have to draft a Ryan Fitzgerald, who we know is the number 1 kicker in the league, before anyone else tries to grab him in rounds 5 and 6. Any corners, Team Ravens says, worth depth. Good call. Justin Whaley's top of the board. He's all right. Not really big on Robert Longerman. Liquid says he liked the. Wait, my mouse is going crazy things, guys. So bear with me. All right, here we go. Liquid says I like the Stuntsman, but maybe too early. Maybe next pick. Did I pick him already? Did I miss your tweet? Yeah, my bad. I think you might have been right about that, but we move. What's cornerbacks looking at? Okay, we're looking at it right now. Elijah Huzzy out of North Carolina, not bad as well. These are all team players that we could have had in the 5th round, though. But is there anybody that you guys are falling in love with? I'm not in love with any of these guys. Big Zo says, what up, Sam? Proud of you, man. Keep up the great work. Appreciate you, Lorenzo. Andre says, I hate this draft. Sam said, F it, I'm drafting the kicker or cheerleader. I mean, because, yeah, man. All of these guys, I mean, there's some depth to be had at interior defensive line. I don't want to go that route right away because you already have the stud, in my opinion. Sandoval says we do need depth at the cornerback position, but I think O-line and maybe a linebacker are big since most edge rushers are gone. Yeah, I think we already drafted the O-lineman, right? Did we not? Yes, Charles Grant out of William & Mary. We got him. We got a linebacker as well. So I think corner might be the next move. No one said that they're in love with anybody. So Liquid just said, I love Huzzy for the special teams value in the later rounds. Will Huzzy be available? I think he will. So let's just go. Let's just go Justin with it. Let's just go Justin. All right. We are, what round are we in? Boop, boop, boop. End of round 5. Is Huzzy still available for you? Probably not. Yep, Huzzy's gone. Sorry, buddy. Played the game and we lost. Eric DaCosta knows this all too well. Carson Schwarzenegger at 27. Where did the Carson get drafted? Let's see. I know he got drafted in round 2. I just don't know to who. Yeah, he got drafted to the Bills. He is a decent pass rusher. That's 27. You don't think you could be ahead at the second round? Let's read what they said because I have him in my top 10, but not my top 5. Schwarzenegger's life for NFL standards is 6'2". He plays like he weighs 240. He gives defenses everything he has on every snap, but he doesn't do so recklessly. Despite only 1 year as a starter, he shows elite processing speed and understanding of the game that's huge. His pursuit speed is adequate for the NFL level. And his vision to the ball carrier is top tier. So it looks like the only knock on him is his size. And I don't understand. I understand frame. I don't understand knocks on size because size is easily fixed at the pro level. You got weight trainers, nutritionists. The Ravens have the best money can buy. So I'm not understanding why you knock somebody, and that's why I don't really pay attention to PFF in terms of grading because sometimes it's weird, you know. You can fix size. So yeah, maybe I don't think it happens. Carson at 27, but if he makes it to the second round, I think so. You think he's what we need? We'll see. I'll do a little more homework on him, and I'll get back to you. I'm going to record my podcast in a little bit and see what the motion is on him. I did have him in my top 10, and I mean top 10 in position. But his pass rushing ability makes it so that maybe they move him to edge or move him to outside linebacker. We'll see. Kicker here, let's see. Round 5. I like kicker. I wouldn't be surprised if they go kicker here. He's not going to be there at 59, he says. Yeah, I don't think so either, but the Ravens have 11 picks. Trade up and go grab him. If you want him, go get him. The Ravens better not end the draft with 11 selections. I'd be upset. Do not end this draft with 11 selections. Use that capital to trade up and go get somebody. We've already heard reports that the Ravens are likely to have 4 more comp picks in 2026. So it's not like you need to trade this year's picks for next year's. You'll have plenty. Go up and grab a guy. So he may not be there at 59, but he might be there at 49, right? Raymond said kicker here. Liquid said no problem with kicker, but we've got an early 6th round, so we could use it for that too. Okay, Liquid. Well, if not kicker, then who? Because I guarantee you the Ravens are going in the 5th or 6th round with kicker. I think that's obvious. I see huge value with Ty Robinson. Miles Frazier at LSU. Another guy. Not great of a run blocker, but pass blocker. He's really good. He doesn't have arm length, I think is what I wrote in my draft board. I don't know what they say here. Lack of length makes him a better fit at guard. Yeah, so. And he could be a replacement for McCary. We can be on the hook for 2 guards in this draft. 2. You may not have to deal. RG says, edge rusher. OL, DT positions are deep. I agree with both. I don't know about edge rusher. I'm not big on the edge rushers like everybody else is. But defensive tackle, O-line, yes, deep. Let's look at the edge rushers right now because I could be mistaken. Yeah, like right now, Tyrion Ingram, I'm not considering him. I always like looking at the first look and then trending. Trending's going up as far as draft position goes in mock drafts. He dropped for a little bit and March 29th, and then as of now, he's making speed up to the 149th selection. review. Now here's a guy. I like this. Anyway, not much of a pass rusher, but I don't know. What do you guys want? Frazier's pretty good value pick. Don't know if Jalen Lane is still there. He'd be good. Jalen Lane's not here. Jalen Lane already got picked up. Can I search players in this thing? Okay, yeah, I can. Oh, he is available. Holy moly. Why the heck would he still be available? But he is a slot guy. But also, the Ravens are looking for a returner. So this could be the move. I also like Jimmy Horn, Ty Felton. You know what I mean? I like Ty Felton. Jimmy Horn's ranked 239. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. They like to hate on Colorado. I don't buy it. He can get separation. He is short, but I think he'd be a good returner. I mean, he's plummeted since November. At one point, they were considering him to be a pick 100. What happened? Now he's over here in the 200s. I don't buy it. Somebody will take a flyer on him. May not be the Ravens. But you mentioned Lane. We'll go Lane. I'll have to check Instagram again because I'm trying to be mindful. I like Jimmy Horn, great returner and route runner. Andre says, I like him too. I wanted Simpson to be good so bad. I liked him at Clemson, but he struggled big and he takes away from Roquan. Now, Harbaugh did say that basically the moment was too big for him and he expects there to be growth in the offseason. I think Roquan's working with him. So don't be surprised if Simpson gets it together and hit this upcoming season. But yeah, you're right. I was disappointed, especially with the loss of Patrick Queen. I thought I'd see, similar or even better results so that we could talk trash to Patrick. But the fact of the matter is Patrick Queen loss didn't do them any favors. Where did Egbuka go to? Egbuka, I think he went early. I think he was like in the 20s or something. Yeah, 22 to the Chargers. I like Horn, Sandoval says. Let's see. I don't see the Ravens going with 2 receivers in this draft. Maybe. I mean, they just have too much depth at receiver right now. All right, Liquid, I'll leave it to you. Jalen Lane or Jimmy Horn? Make your choice. Maybe if there's enough depth, we might get both. Or if not Liquid, then someone else. Yeah, I think he steps it up big time. He has to. If not, it's curtains. Also, a reminder, just so you know, my TikTok was hacked. So if you are on my TikTok and you see people selling charger cords or fake designer bags, it's because somebody from the Middle East hacked my account and I can't get it back. TikTok, I don't like to talk politics all that much, but TikTok needs to be bought by an American, goddamn it, so I can talk to a person online and get my TikTok back. But yeah, TikTok is officially hacked. It's been that way for about a month and some change, and I can't seem to get it back. TikTok has done nothing at all to help me since it got hacked in early March. It's been a minute. Liquid said he doesn't have a problem. It may be too early for Horn. All right, well, let's draft both. Let's go Jalen Lane here. We'll see if he's available later. Ty Robinson's still available. I don't care what you guys say. I'm drafting Ty Robinson. If you're still available, that's nuts. 6th round on the clock. Miles Frazier is still available. Do you like Miles Frazier? Crazy that he's still available here. How many picks do we have left? Let's look at my picks. We got 4 picks, so we can do it. Seems like the league doesn't want Miles Frazier. I do. Give me Miles Frazier. We've been talking about kicker a lot. Let's go kicker. Ryan Fitzgerald still available. The Ravens would love to get Ryan Fitzgerald. We don't know what's going to go on with Justin Tucker. Ty Robinson was a great pick, says RG. Thank you, Ty. I mean, RG. Got Ty in the brain. Thank you, RG. Yeah, Ty Robinson, I think. I mean, we already have Harmon, but if you can get Ty Robinson, then you take Ty Robinson. Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with Justin Tucker. I think, here's my thoughts on Justin Tucker. Now, I talked about this in my podcast, but I know how difficult it is to watch podcasts, so don't blame you guys if you didn't listen to it. The Ravens are going to wait for the league to make a decision. I know there's a lot of Ravens fans. Seen some content creators even post stuff about it. A lot of friends that I have that are women in this industry and not very happy about Justin Tucker still being a Raven. I get it. Here's where the Ravens are at. The league is investigating Justin Tucker. They were there several weeks ago interviewing people who were close to the situation, trying to grasp an understanding of what's going on. The league is here to do one thing: shield the Ravens from scrutiny, right? We can talk about the Ravens know, did they not know, whatever. The league is doing their investigation to shield the Ravens for two reasons. One, off the field issues aside, Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker in NFL history. He's going, prior to this, who would say that Justin Tucker wasn't going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? So this is a big deal. Not Deshaun Watson level big. I know a lot of Browns fans are wondering, well, why isn't Justin Tucker getting the same attention as Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson plays quarterback, and he was offered a fully guaranteed contract. Justin Tucker, who kicked, I think, 70+% from the field last year. He's on the downward trend of his career. Whatever. Once the league finishes their investigation, one or two things are going to happen. They find him innocent and pushes it back on the Ravens to make a decision, or they find him guilty. If they find him guilty, I don't care what anyone says, the Ravens will love it if the league found enough evidence to discipline Justin Tucker, because it makes it very easy to release him. You don't have to worry about, the logistics of it. Oh, the league found enough evidence to suspend him. We don't want anything to do with this as far as optics are concerned. We wish Justin Tucker the best, but we want to move forward with Ryan Fitzgerald or Caden Davis or another free agent kicker out there, whatever. The worst thing that could happen for the Ravens is if the league finds nothing. And I haven't heard one way or another, but the longer this takes, the more I'm assuming the league isn't going to discipline Justin Tucker, which is going to be a problem. Because this fan base, I won't even say they're split, because all season long, all I heard was cut Justin Tucker. He's not good. He's missing kicks. Cut Justin Tucker. So I don't think it would be as big a blow if Justin Tucker was released as far as the fan base is concerned. But there are people who are of this mindset, innocent until proven guilty. League didn't find anything. He can't be charged because of the amount of time since the accusations. Why is he being cut, right? So in my opinion, I think what the Ravens should do, even if the league finds him innocent, you have to release Justin Tucker. That's my mindset. You cannot allow this narrative to be in your locker room. Because when the reporters come in, that's all they're going to talk about. When Justin Tucker is on the field doing mini camps, training camps, they're looking for Tucker. Can you have that narrative? Are you strong enough of a locker room, of a front office, with everything that's gone on in the past with these other players, to keep a guy in the locker room who's been accused of this? And he didn't play that well last year. It just doesn't make any sense to keep him on the roster. Now, people I talk to saying if the league finds him innocent, if the league doesn't punish him, the Ravens are probably going to keep him. I've talked to a couple of people, not NFL sources, not Ravens sources. There's people in the know, people who, they do this, say they would not be surprised if the Ravens keep Justin Tucker, which would be a huge mistake. I think the way to go, and this is the third option, and this is the option, I don't agree with this option, but based on what I'm hearing from other people, could be a way that can go. Keep Justin Tucker, draft a kicker, have them battle it out. Assume that Tucker doesn't lose. Assume Tucker loses this battle. I think Ryan Fitzgerald at this point in his career has more upside than Tucker. If you see enough from Fitzgerald or whoever, where maybe Tucker has the leg up on him, maybe Tucker uses this as a way to motivate himself to be that guy he was a few years back when he kicked those 66+ yard field goals. Maybe you do it that way to gracefully remove him from the roster. But I just don't see a way in 2025, September 12th, or whenever the season starts, where Justin Tucker's kicking for the Ravens, regardless of what the NFL does. I don't know why it's taking so long for the league to make the decision. I think the investigation from the Baltimore Banner, from when they heard about it to when they investigated, that period of time is way more than what the league is doing. I think the Baltimore Banner did a fantastic job with their investigation towards the matter. So I'm not 100% sure what's taking so long with this. Maybe the league found some new information. Maybe the league is doing the Ravens a courtesy of waiting until after the draft to make the call. All of these things are possible. Again, this is speculation. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if Justin Tucker is available for the Ravens and he's still a Raven in 2025, it'd be just, why? Why? The only reason why the Ravens would do something like that is because they want to preserve his legacy. Again, we mentioned that he is a Hall of Fame kicker. He is the greatest kicker of all time. He has done great things for the community. I know you don't want to hear this considering his off-the-field antics or potential off-the-field antics, but it's just, I'm just coming to you as the Ravens are coming to the Justin Tucker in terms of this. They want to make sure they ease him off gracefully, make sure they don't burn any bridges with him, give him a chance, if he is innocent, to prove that innocence, because public opinion matters, especially in terms of the Hall of Fame, especially in terms of what this guy does post NFL life. So I'm sure the Ravens are trying to come at this as pro-Justin as they can without coming out looking like assholes to women. I mean, that's what a lot of women are taking this as. But again, the league is shielding the Ravens from this. The league will do their investigation whenever they come to terms with the finality of that investigation. We'll know next steps. But the Ravens love this. They don't love the situation, but from the situation's perspective, this is the best case scenario. The Ravens aren't playing in the games. Justin Tucker hasn't been seen in Baltimore. Hasn't been seen besides that ridiculous article he did with, I don't know if it was The Onion, whatever pro-right publication they got going on, whatever. Besides that, Justin Tucker has been in the spotlight. He's shown his receipts, and he's been backing away and letting the league do his thing. Best case scenario for the Ravens. But the Ravens aren't going to forget. The fans aren't going to forget. August is right around the corner. Preseason is right around the corner. So a decision needs to be made. I thought it would be done before the draft. Obviously, it hasn't been done yet. I don't think at this point it will be done because the story would shift so heavily towards the Ravens that it'll just be ridiculous. I think if the league were going to announce something, it will be after the draft at this point. Whatever. But again, no way that Justin Tucker's a Raven in 2025, right? I know people say, the league doesn't find anything. Why not? The optics are crazy. That's my 2 cents. Anyway, that's a lot of mumbo jumbo to say that the Ravens are drafting Ryan Fitzgerald and he is off the board. Let's go to Instagram and see what people are saying. I know I talked a long time. My little soapbox got annoying. Eagles O-line have been great since Hurts been drafted. Lamar never had that luxury, says Andre. Yeah, I think a lot of times I see national publications talk about how great the Ravens O-line is because they rush for so many yards, and Lamar Jackson isn't sacked as much as his peers. It's because Lamar Jackson is the fastest freaking quarterback in the league. And the Ravens are running the ball at you because you got to stop either Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry. You could barely stop one, let alone both at the same time. So I understand why the offensive line gets those grades that they do sometimes, especially from people like Pro Football Focus. But yeah, the offensive line hasn't been great, especially the interior of that line. Tyler Linderbaum had a down year because he has to deal with the stunts, the unattended stunts coming from the left and right side. So I think he would be so much well adept at being a center if he had a bona fide guard either at the left or the right. Now, depending on who you ask, the Ravens should either attack the left side or the right side, whatever you want to think about it. I think the Ravens will be well versed at grabbing an interior offensive line in this draft. I think I have two. Picked up Miles Frazier in the 6th round and Charles Grant in the 3rd. Then Charles Grant will start right away. And I think you'd ease in Miles Frazier. I think Faalele, this is the last year of his deal anyway. So if he's brought back or not, we'll see. Guard play terrible, says Andre. Yes, crazy. Crazy play. Team Raimi says maybe it has been done and announced after draft. It hasn't been done. I can tell you that. I mean, the Ravens don't know if it's done. I will say that. The Ravens haven't been informed, at least from my perspective, from people I've talked to. The Ravens haven't been notified of any decision being made. If the league announces it, I'm sure they'd give the Ravens a heads up beforehand. So, but to your point, I think it gets announced after the draft. Whatever happens with Tucker will be announced after the draft. And I know a lot of fans are saying, well, we've known for quite some time, and I get it. But, and again, I'll try my best not to sound like a complete douche when talking about this, because a lot of stuff we don't know about, right? But the receipts that Justin Tucker dropped does help his case a great deal. And that may be, one of the reasons why this is taking so long. You say you banned him from a spy, and then there's receipts, emails saying, we wish you the best, and receipts of, inclusion in those spots. Now, I think some management changes were had, from what I'm understanding, in certain situations that maybe caused that. So I think it's just, do your due diligence. Justin Tucker's the best kicker in the league. Off the field issues aside, you have to separate the two. I know fans have a hard time doing that. Got to separate the two. So the guy's legacy is on the line. Do your due diligence. Get the facts right. The NFL are not the police. They're not the law enforcement. They have resources to do their job, so let them do it. And whatever happens, happens. But I think the Ravens would be foolish to keep him in 2025 unless there's overwhelming evidence that all of these women, however many, lied about it. So that's that. Either by discipline or losing out in training camp, Tucker can't be on the team next year. Agreed. And I think we've said all that we can about it. So let's move on to the rest of this draft. We're still got 2 picks left. Again, this is all just for fun. I do not expect the Ravens to use all 11 picks. I expect them to potentially trade Mark Andrews in the second day of this draft, either for a pick this year or a pick next year, whatever. And just, again, 3 tight ends, none under contract next year. It just does not make a lick of sense to keep Andrews if your intent is to get rid of him next year. Again, you're not keeping Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews next year. I will say, and Kevin Oestreicher made a great point about this on the show, that if the Ravens were to keep both and release Mark Andrews or not re-sign him, you're going to be awarded a 4th-round comp pick anyway, right? Someone's going to sign Mark Andrews to a lucrative contract, unless Andrews has a terrible year, which he hasn't had. Last year he was good. He led the league in touchdowns for tight ends. He just sucked against the Bills, and I think fans need to realize that you got to separate the two. Regular season Mark Andrews from Buffalo Bills game Mark Andrews, and again playoffs overall Andrews has been not the best, but just looking at it from the Ravens' perspective and these other GMs' perspective, Mark Andrews is top 5. Top 10, if you really want to be lenient with it. But there isn't a GM that wouldn't put Mark Andrews in the top 10, and that means that he's awarded at least a 4th rounder. You know what I mean? You lead the league in touchdowns and you get traded for a 5th-round pick, that's asinine. So I think that's where the Ravens' heads are at. We'll see how this draft unfolds. We talked about it, 2 tight ends. In the 1st round, those 2 go. Unless you're really in love with the guy at Bowling Green, you're probably looking Mark Andrews' way for a way to bolster your passing attack. All right, so we're at the end. Again, we're looking at the Ravens are looking at starters in the 6th round. Obviously, looking at depth pieces. They like to go big in this draft. Let's see. Are there any guys you guys are interested in that you want to look at? You guys are arguing about who needs to win, play action to death, O-line. Let's get some depth in here. Let's go Jimmy Horn. Why not? Is he available? He is. Let's draft him. 5'10". Don't see the Ravens doing this, getting Jalen Lane and Jimmy Horn, but whatever. And then we'll close it out with a tackle. Jalen Travis seems to be decent. We need some bigs. We got 2 defensive linemen already. I'd love another tackle. Jalen Travis, I didn't have on my list. But he seems to have a decent pass block grade according to Pro Football. Okay, let's just get him and call it quits. All right, so we're done. PFF is going to grade it. I don't know. Sorry, RG, I missed this. Is Dante Thornton gone? He's gone now because we're done. But let's look at the grades. I got a C- for Derek Carmen in the first round. I don't care. I love Derek Carmen. PFF has him graded in the 40s, so they think it's a bit of a reach. In fact, they just showed it right here. Kevin Winston, great pick. We got an A for that. It's a good job, Flock. Justin Whaley, F grade. Yikes. They're not a fan of him. They like Ty Robinson. I love that. Miles Frazier, huge pick. I love that. Ryan Fitzgerald, they're never going to give you a great grade for drafting a kicker. Jimmy Horn, D+. Jalen Travis, B-. So we got an overall grade of a B. Not bad for being just a guy in the end of the bar post John Harbs. But yeah, that's a decent grade. I'll take it. We didn't really go with the board for a lot of these, but we went need with Derek Harmon. I don't care. Winston is just a phenomenal pick. That might be my favorite pick of this draft. If he's in round 2, Ravens should pounce. Charles Grant, C grade, but again, they're grading him as a tackle, and we're grading him as a guard. So I think that's a bit higher than a C grade. And yeah, I like this. It's not bad. Not bad list. I don't like the Justin Whaley. I don't think I like that Whaley pick either all that much, but can't hit him all of them. All right, he's not Matt Elam. RG, you said that Derek Harmon doesn't finish. Oh, Chuck's going to get him right. He's going to finish. All right, I think he'll finish. But yeah, this has been fun. We're going to do day 1 draft. Ramey says 11 picks with B grade is good. Thank you. I think it's good too. I think the B grade, again, Ravens will take that as well. Again, 11 picks, just no way, right? There's no way the Ravens are going to pick 11. We think we said that last time when the Ravens had like 4 fourth-round draft picks. There's no way they keep all 4. They did. They did. So I don't know. We'll see. The Ravens, I think, are stacked roster-wise. They have depth in a lot of positions already. I would love for them to address the interior of their offense and defense. We'd love an edge rusher with the first-round pick, obviously. But if there's not one available, do not reach for edge. I would not do that. I think there's only 3 or 4 really good first-round great edge rushers. Abdul Carter's 1. Donovan Ezraku is number 2. I've seen him fall on a lot of boards. Not sure if the GMs are seeing what I'm seeing, but I don't think he's going to be available at that pick at all. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to call it quits here. We've been, I think we're on for almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes. Thirsty. But we'll be back on Thursday for the live draft. We'll talk about it. I think we'll have some guests here. I have another podcast. In fact, if you guys don't know, I do too much. Weekly guests on Locked On Ravens with Kevin Oestreicher. You see those clips all the time. I appreciate you guys for checking my boy Kevin out. AFC North Roundtable with Zim, a guy that you guys know, Bengals content creator. You guys don't like him very much. I think he's pretty decent, but we do clips. We'll have our show back and running once the season starts with the rest of the AFC North. My show, Ravens Talk Podcast, we do it every week. Try to do it every 2 weeks. It's just, twice a week. It's just, I don't like to give you guys fluff. I like to give you guys 30 minutes of raw material. Appreciate you, Ramey, for joining. Shout outs to Ramey. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, you guys are crazy. But yeah, appreciate you for watching the show. So Ravens Talk, I'll keep it at once a week for now, maybe 2 times a week, depending on how things go. But I do have another podcast coming out potentially. It's called the Still Got It podcast with 2 of my friends. We'll be touching on all things NFL. So not just Ravens. So if you're interested in that, for sure, tune in for that a little bit later. But a lot of Ravens content we try and push out. Shout outs to Ravens content creators. I think if you guys don't know, Ravens content creators are the shit. If you guys don't know, I used to be a writer. I used to just write posts. The editor would post it out, and I thought, man, this is crazy. And I see content creators in the past, and I'm like, that seems pretty easy. Let me give it a shot. This is not easy. And some of these guys are working around the clock. Shout outs to Cole Jackson, Rita, Glenn over there at 105.7, and also the Glenn Clark Show. They do crazy work. I could go on and on. Kevin Ostraker, the Ryan Ripken Show, AFC North Roundtable, which I'm a part of. They do crazy work. Ramey, he has his own content he does out there. I think he has a podcast as well that he's working on with somebody. So content creation is not easy. You guys are killing it. I don't do nearly as much work as these guys do. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I love what I do. I'm old. I got a family. I got a daytime job. As you guys know, I have a doctorate. I'm a clinician. I work helping people outside of this. This is stuff that I do because, I'm decent at it. But, man, these content creators out there doing work, having a full-time job, having a family, shout outs to them. So much appreciated. RG says, I was watching Howie Roseman interview. He says there's only 15 players on the first-round grade. You heard it from him. I'm no Howie, but I agree completely. There are not a lot of first-round grades out there. There's not. Can you afford to draft a guy in the bottom of the draft if you're the Ravens or the Bills or the Eagles? Yes. You can draft a second-round graded player in the first round because you're stacked. You got your Lamar. You got your Josh Allen. You got your Saquon, your Derrick Henrys, your Patrick Mahomes. So you can afford to reach on a guy to fill a need or to take a stab at a project in the end of the first round because, again, as you mentioned, in the first round picks are basically high second round grades anyway, especially in terms of the way contract extensions work, 5th-year options, yada, yada, yada. You know it. But, yeah, this isn't a top-heavy draft. So if you're a team like the Ravens and the Eagles who already have a roster and you're looking to bolster it with starters that you can get in the second and third round while these other teams are reaching for diamonds in the roughs, combine kings like Nick Amenwari, then you're set. You're set. So I think this is a big draft for the Ravens. Not a lot of star power. You're not going to get the Kyle Hamiltons here. You're not going to get your Lamar Jackson in this draft, but that's okay. You don't need that. You have them already. You just need to build upon the roster, get pieces. If they turn out to be the next Myles Garrett or TJ Watt, fantastic. Next Kyle Hamilton, superb. Next Marshall Yanda, amazing. But I think the Ravens need to come into this draft. We're just looking to inject youth into our roster, get some starters, coach them up. Don't be afraid to coach. And one of the things I like about John Harbaugh, I know there's not a lot of John Harbaugh lovers here, but one of the things about John Harbaugh that I love is he's not afraid to coach. He mentioned about Daniel Falele. We're not going to cut these guys. We're not going to antagonize these guys. We're going to coach these guys. Don't be afraid to coach. A lot of coaches want the colleges to handle it. They want the college coaches to get them ready for the professional level. You get paid the big bucks. You coach them. You coach them. If you see the talent, if you see the potential, coach them. Don't cut them, coach them. So I think that's what they did with Odafe Oweh, paying huge dividends now. Good problem to have in 2026, whether he returns. David Ojabo, we're still looking for that for him. But he's a guy that could have a superb year this year because of the trajectory he's going on. He was injured. And people forget he was injured. A lot of fans don't think he should be drafted. They would rather had George Pickens, but I'm telling you, he has the potential. The coaching staff saw it, training staff saw it. He could be that guy. But regardless, I think edge rusher is a huge need for the Ravens, either interior or edge. Get some pass rushing help because the pass rush needs some work. Get a safety. Move Kyle Hamilton back to where he's a beast, line of scrimmage, and go get that championship. I'm tired of watching the other players play in the Super Bowl when the Ravens are clearly the best team in the league. But enough of my shenanigans. We're closing in on the 2-hour mark. I got to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for joining us. I'll make sure I'm on for the live stream on Thursday. I'm on with Kim McCusick. I mean, the name speaks for himself. We'll be doing day 3 stuff. We'll be looking for diamonds in the rough here and there. I'm sure there'll be plenty. Ravens always grab somebody in the 4th round and 5th round that turns out to be studs. Don't think this show will be any different. But appreciate you guys. See you soon.